Hello, everyone. This is ex Bethelite here, and we're going to talk a little bit about fading. And fading is a term that ex Jehovah's Witnesses use for a method of getting out of a cult while at the same time sustaining as little damage to yourself and family and friends as possible. Now, you know a religion like the Jehovah's Witnesses is a cult if you need a way to get out without them trying to destroy your family. There's a lot of different things that you can point to as this is the reason why we think Jehovah's Witnesses is a cult. But when you have people that need a term to cover the method of getting out of a religion without them destroying your life, that's a cult. Now, when people fade, it's different for different people because some people have family that are in. Some people don't have family that are in. They have friends that are in. Some people are married to a cult member and they're trying to get out. There's various differences with the situation. But in general, a person is talking about lessening their involvement with Jehovah's Witnesses to the point that they eventually are not involved at all and it's seemingly unnoticed. Now, one issue that I'd like to discuss is putting people in their proper place, essentially. You're going to have people call you for field service time. They want to make sure you did your required time knocking on doors for that month. You're trying to fade. You're trying to get away from the cult, but members of that cult are going to call your house. They're going to call your phone and ask you for field service time. In many cases, in some cases they don't. Some cases they don't check on you at all. But let's just say in the event that they do call you and ask for field service time, we have to remember this person is no longer your elder. This person is not a religious official. This person can't show you anything. They can't show you a degree from any kind of school of theology. They can't show you a certificate from sitting through a 2-week class in any kind of school recognized in theology. They can't show you anything like that. The only way that this person can be termed an elder is not in a religious sense, but just in the age sense. Maybe they're older. But this person is not a religious official. Therefore, you don't have to respect them as one. So when they call your home, you don't have to pick up the phone necessarily. They call your cell phone and you see it's brother such and such. Don't think, oh man, this is an elder, I have to pick up the phone. Oh, this is a religious official. No, this is oftentimes just the janitor whose door got knocked on by Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's all that is. So we don't want to let the quote unquote elders tread all over your personal space. They can't just come over your house whenever they feel like it, unannounced. They didn't tell you they were coming. They just knock on your door. And oftentimes they do that, sometimes because the quote unquote circuit overseer is there and they want it to look like they're checking on people. So when the circuit overseer is there, sometimes they show up unannounced at people's homes. And again, You don't have to be in awe of this man that they call the circuit overseer. What is a circuit overseer? Does he work at Radio Shack? Does he connect circuits? Does he work with electronics? No, this is just a made up name that they gave yet another person who has no actual religious authority from the standpoint of God or from the standpoint of any religious school. Most of these pastors that these churches have, they've been to a college, they've been to a school, they have official religious training. So even if you don't like the pastor, you can't take that away from him. Yeah, he did graduate from such and such a school of theology. He does have the qualifications. I just don't like him. I'm going to a different church. With Jehovah's Witnesses, these are just random people. These are just random people. Unless they're your friends or unless they're your relatives, they don't have an actual title. You don't have to be so nice to them that you can't fade, because every time they want to come to your house, they can come over. Or every time they want to call your phone, they can call. No, you don't have to pick up the phone. If you like to, you can block the number, because it's going to be very difficult for you to move on. Think about it. You're trying to leave a cult, and you're not showing up at the Kingdom Hall anymore. You're not going knocking on people's doors, handing out their magazines for them. But they're showing up at your house. They're calling your phone. There's still involvement there. You're trying to get away from all involvement with this cult. And that's very detrimental when they do that, because if you start a relationship, you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, you're thinking about this person, you want to have a relationship, a healthy relationship with someone who's not in a cult. And you actually start to date and find people that you like, and you don't want Watchtower to mess that up. How are you going to explain to your boyfriend that random men just come over your house whenever they want? Quote unquote check on you, quote unquote shepherding call. How are you going to explain to your, let's say, boyfriend that random men call your phone whenever they want? Talking about field service time or whatever the case may be. That doesn't leave really a good impression. And it's better to cut off these random people with no real religious authority from any school that's official. Watchtower School is not official. Theocratic Ministry School, where they get up on stage and give horrible talks, that's not an official school. They're not elders in a religious sense. They're not whatever a circuit overseer is. They're not qualified to work at Radio Shack, and they're not qualified to be dealing with people from a religious standpoint. So they're not in electronics or they don't have any training. It's a random dude. They're random people. They can't be outside your house trying to figure out whose car is in the driveway. If it's your boyfriend that came over so you guys could have a nice dinner or watch a movie, that's not their business. It's not their concern. But they will make it their business. They will make it their concern. And they will mess with your relationship. They will mess with your life in trying to get away from that cult if they're allowed to do so. Sometimes we can't be, we want to be nice. Some people, I've talked to them and they tell them straight up, this is the last time you're coming over my house. And it ends up being the last time they come over their house. because they don't have any authority to say otherwise. But then you have other people that want to kind of be nice, or they have a fear of who they thought were elders. That title, you see, circuit overseer. You see, all these titles, and you're dealing with a person that was raised to think that these people had that authority. Sometimes that fear will make a person give a lot of leeway for this cult to just keep bothering them. Come over their house, call their phone, ask them questions about who was over their house and how long were they there and why were they there. It's not your business. Worry about your family. You can tell them that it's not their business. That's not really a disfellowshipping offense. You're trying to fade. You don't want them to be bothering them. You don't want to actually be disfellowship, especially if you haven't done anything wrong. Telling these people, don't call my phone or don't just pop up over my house unannounced. That's not a disfellowshipping offense. They can't, we're going to have a judicial hearing because you won't let us come over your house anytime we want. They can't do that. Or they don't really have grounds. They don't have grounds to do anything that they do. But they really don't have grounds to do that. So we have to cut the line at some point when we are fading or trying to leave Jehovah's Witnesses. And I definitely understand from the standpoint of relatives who seem to be way more concerned about Watchtower than their family member. When every time you talk to your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, uncle, have you been to the Kingdom Hall? Have you been to the Kingdom Hall? They hadn't asked you if you had food in the refrigerator. They didn't ask you if you were okay. They didn't ask you how your health is going. They didn't. You been to the Kingdom Hall? It's difficult to completely cut the cord when your relatives, friends and family are in a cult. But as far as the people that are not related to you, that's a line that needs to be cut at some point when you're trying to fade. Otherwise, every month they're going to call you for field service time. That opens the way for them to then start asking more questions. So some people write a official letter, and that just becomes very difficult to actually fade sometimes in doing that, because sometimes they use that as an excuse to try to do damage to you by telling your family not to speak to you. My situation was one that is very different from other situations, because my situation is I was sent back, along with a lot of other Bethelites, back from Bethel. I was at Walkill, the farm, Bethel. Sent back from Bethel. And they, when I say they, I mean the quote-unquote elders, quote-unquote circuit overseer, would come and show up at my house, and I welcomed them on in. And I said, sit on down. We have something to discuss. So I would explain what happened at Bethel. I would explain how poorly, the whole reassigning, quote unquote, reassigning people, or essentially just laying people off, how poorly that was organized. People didn't necessarily have a place to go. They didn't necessarily have their vehicles prepared for the trip. They were just told to leave. Bethel lost my publisher card for a good long time. All this was right in their face, and they didn't want to deal with it. So they stopped coming by. They can't really disfellowship Marcus because Bethel is a mess. But they also don't want to hear that Bethel is a mess. And they don't want anybody else in the congregation to hear about it either. So I tell the CO about it. He just doesn't come by anymore. I don't hear anything else about it. I tell the elders about it. They don't know what to say. They just stop coming by. They just don't want to deal with it. Then I get busy with work. And I end up with a job that was supposed to be a 5-day, really a 4.5-day job. And it ends up being a 7-day-a-week job. You know, they lose a contract, they pick up another contract. That contract requires us to work 7 days straight. Watchtower, Jehovah's Witness, they're not coming to me because they don't want to hear about Bethel. They're trying to avoid me. My job at that point wasn't allowing me to have any time to go and deal with them. That's how it happened with me. They don't want to talk about Bethel. So they fade. Jehovah's Witnesses faded from me. So I don't have the same experience as other people when they try to fade. And, you know, the quote unquote elders or circuit overseers or whoever keep coming by the house, keep bothering them. They don't want to come by my house. They don't want to bother me. They don't want to hear about Bethel because they have no answers. So I can't really talk from experience with regards to the constant being harassed. But I can say from what I've heard from other people, when they stand up, they have no fear of man, and they tell them, this is the last time you're coming by my house. You're not showing up unannounced whenever you feel like it. You're not just calling my phone for whatever reason, and you're not asking me whose car was parked in my driveway. You're not asking me who I'm dating. You know, you put them in their place. You put the dude. You don't need to be worried about anything but washing windows. Go wash your windows and take care of your family that you hardly speak to. Because half of these quote unquote elders don't know where their own kids are. So you put them in their place. Circuit overseer, hand them a circuit board and tell them to be on their way. They have no business just showing up whenever they feel like it. They don't have authority from God. They can't show you authority from God. They can't show it to you in the Bible because their Bible has been altered. It's against scripture to alter the Bible, and they did it anyway. So their Bible isn't even official. The quote unquote silver sword or whatever weird name these people came up with. I mean, you're literally talking about people that have no authority to be bothering you at all at your home and calling your phone when you're trying to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's more important. So comment down below. This is something that we have to, deal with on an individual basis because everybody's situation is different. But at the same time, everybody's situation is the same in the sense that these men have no authority. They can't just show up at your house. They can't call your phone whenever they feel like it. It doesn't matter if they don't have your field service time. They can't just call your phone whenever they feel like it. You can bring it to them if you want to, or send it to them on an email if you want to, or send it to them by they can't just. You're trying to get past this. You're trying to get married. You're trying to have a family. You're trying to live your life. You can't have random men showing up at your house. This is not going to look good for any guy that you're trying to date. A random man calling your phone. And the same with dating women. You don't really want to, mention the whole cult thing, and it's kind of hard not to when you got people showing up at your house. And you got people calling your phone, talking about service time, So Let's put our foot down. Let's put the janitor in his place. You don't have authority over me. You need to go and make sure you get the floor mopped, and or the window washer, wash the window. Just put them in their place. They have no authority over you at all. It's okay. They can be told to leave you alone. So let me know what you think about this, and let me know if you have any, better methods when that cult starts coming by your house and calling your phone. If you've got better methods to get them to leave you alone, comment down below so that we can benefit from each other's experiences. And this is X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.